Hey there, it's Tracy Adams here, and right now I'm going to talk to you about how fat became the villain. Okay, so let's face it, without watching every morsel that we put in our mouths these days, especially with how commercialized everything is, we would never be able to maintain a healthy weight. That's how it is, period. But do you realize that humans are the only mammals on this planet that have to be told what to eat, that actually say, what do I eat? Tell me what to eat. How do I lose weight? That's crazy. And you can 1,000,000% blame it on things that have happened in the past. I'm going to share with you a little bit of history just so you understand what I'm talking about. First thing you need to know is there are multiple examples dating back indicating that humans have known for a very long time that carbs are the real issue here, okay? A gentleman by the name of, and I'm going to try so hard not to butcher his name, but I have a feeling I'm going to. His name was Jean Anthelme Brillant Savarin. And he lived from 1755 to 1826. And he wrote a very influential textbook in 1825 by the name of The Physiology of Taste. And in this book, here is a small excerpt of what he wrote. The second of the chief causes of obesity is the floury and starchy substances which man makes the prime ingredients of his daily nourishment. As we have said already, all animals live on farinaceous food, grow fat willy-nilly, and man is no exception to this universal law. And that is just one example of examples from the far past. The next factor is a coronary disease epidemic that took place, okay? As the life expectancy of Americans increased from 1900 to 1950, the perception of a coronary disease epidemic was reinforced. So here's for some examples. For a white male, the life expectancy in 1900 was 50 years old. Now by 1950, it had reached 66 years old, and by 1970, it had reached 68 years old, okay? On top of that, people were no longer dying from things like tuberculosis and infectious diseases, thank you modern medicine, so they would eventually have a heart attack from natural consequences, okay? So dietary fat was thought to increase the amount of cholesterol in the blood. And doctors who, I point out, have an average of about 3 hours of nutritional training in their medical school, they started advocating low-fat diets, okay? This led to increased carbs because many protein sources have fat. So in order to reduce the fat, that meant higher carbohydrates and more processed foods like meats where they removed part of the fat and stuff like that. So, long story boring, without any clinical evidence or any historical precedent, it was arbitrarily decided that excess calories caused weight gain, not specific foods. And fat, as the dietary villain, was now deemed fattening, which up until this point was a completely unknown concept, okay? There was a lot of scientific debate over fat being fattening. And guess what happened? This is crazy. Guess where it was settled is absolutely insane. In 1977, after several years of deliberation, it was decided by the United States Senate Select Committee on Nutrition on Human Needs that fat was guilty as charged. Yep, it was decided by a bunch of politicians. Okay? So not only was dietary fat guilty of causing heart disease, it also was guilty of our obesity crisis. So the resulting declaration became the Dietary Goals for the United States. So moms no longer told you what to eat. Uncle Sam did. Here are just a couple of the dietary goals that were set forth. Raise consumption of carbs until they constituted 55 to 60% of your calories. decrease fat consumption from 40 to 30%, of which no more than 1/3 should come from saturated fat. And so it began the quest for the healthy diet. And mind you, there was no scientific evidence to back up any of this. Actually, when I was doing some research to create this video, there was one gentleman who lived over in England. I can't remember the name of his book. It was something like unoriginal, but also like wow. Something like Sugar Makes You Fat. I mean, not very original. But he fought this tooth and nail, and clearly he lost. All right. So with those guidelines set forth, it's no wonder that, I grew up in the fat-free craze. I remember freaking out when my mom bought Oscar Mayer turkey's lunch meat that was only 99% fat-free. I was like absolutely terrified that 1% of fat in that very processed lunch meat was going to make me fat. So, it's really no wonder that so many people really don't know what to do. Like the quest for maintaining a healthy weight has been absolutely exhausting. So, I mentioned earlier that in today's society, in order to maintain a healthy weight, you really do have to think of everything that you eat. Like you gotta think about it. It's always about choices. Of course, that's a no-brainer, but there's so many bad choices to avoid that you really have to pay attention these days. And it makes me think about when I first started my job with AstraZeneca. Actually, when I first started in the neuroscience division, remember one of the first meetings that I flew out to, I sat next to a guy on the plane. I'd never met him before. His name was Mike, and he was in my division. And we sat on the plane together, and of course, both being in sales, blah, 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 we talked through the whole thing. But at one point, I pulled out a bag of celery and carrots, and he was like, I saw you when we were waiting to get on the plane. Obviously I didn't know you were with AstraZeneca. And I thought to myself, I wonder if she works hard to look like that. He's like, and then I see you pull out your celery and your carrots, and then I know. I'm like, really? Celery and carrots gave it away, huh? But that's how it is nowadays. So why am I telling you this? All right, so here's why. I want to do things differently from now on. I want to teach my customers and my clients the principles behind this lifestyle. I am feeding you all of this information so that you can decide if this is something that you can believe in, that you can trust, so that you can begin to trust yourself again, so that you can have the knowledge to be able to make the right decisions for your N of one, yourself. With my help, of course, I will teach you. I tell you what, these last 4 weeks that I've been in this diet beta test, I have listened to so many books, the whole Kindle Audible part, lots of podcasts, and I have learned so many different concepts, and a lot of them were new to me, okay? But I have learned that about leaky gut and how you can begin to restore your gut health. I've learned how our bodies burn fuel and how to manipulate that and get it to burn fat. I've learned that weight loss is not about calories in and calories out, but instead it's a hormonal it's when I say hormonal issue, I don't mean like you have a hormone problem, you have thyroid issues. It's about your hormones. And I've learned all of these things, and it has really allowed me to take the driver's seat and start to listen to my body again. And it has really been amazing. And so I started off this video, sharing some information about how we ended up where we are, and pointing out that we're the only animals on this planet that really don't know what to eat anymore, and how, my vision is to teach people how to do that again. So anyways, I hope some of this resonated with you. I'd love for you to share any thoughts or questions in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video. Have a lovely day.